When electromagnetic radiation is incident on a photoactive material, like a metal, then the electrons on the surface can absorb a photon and get ejected from the material. So this is the photoelectric effect, where the electrons that are ejected have absorbed the photon and are called photoelectrons. Now the emission of electrons via the photoelectric effect requires a minimum frequency of incident light, and that's called the threshold frequency. So if the light, having some frequency, is incident on the material, and this frequency is at the threshold frequency or higher, then this incident light will result in electron emission, regardless of the number of photons that strike the material. So no electrons are emitted if the frequency of light is less than a threshold frequency. Now the energy of the emitted electrons does not depend on the number of photons that are incident on the material. So in other words, the higher the light intensity means a higher number of photons being incident on the material's surface, then you'll have more electrons being ejected, but there's a maximum kinetic energy of the photoelectrons. So therefore there's a one-to-one interaction between a photon and electron, and the electron absorbs a photon and is ejected instantaneously. So there's no lag time observed, and therefore the wave theory of light is insufficient to describe the photoelectric effect. Because as you can imagine, if the surface is irradiated by a wave, it's going to take time to heat it up and eject an electron. But due to no lag time, this does not occur. So note that the energy of the incident light, or the energy of a photon, is equal to Planck's constant by the frequency of light. So the energy of the photon is proportional to the frequency of the light wave. So a certain amount of energy has to be imparted on the material's surface to liberate the photoelectron. So these factors that we discussed provide evidence that light is a collection of discrete, quantized energy packets called photons. The maximum kinetic energy of an emitted electron is related to the frequency of the incident light on the material's surface and the work function of the material. So the work function of the material is the minimum energy required to emit an electron from the surface of the material. So if the electron absorbs the energy of a photon, which is equal to Planck's constant by the frequency of light, and if this energy of the incident light is greater than or equal to the material's work function, then the electron absorbs this energy and leaves the material with a kinetic energy equal to the energy of the photon minus the material's work function. So essentially one-to-one interactions between the photons and electrons occur instantaneously. So the surface is not really heated by electromagnetic radiation energy over some time period to eject the electron. So no lag time is observed. Now note that the work function is qualitatively similar to the ionization energy, but it's not the same. So the work function is the amount of energy required to remove an electron from the surface of a material. So this is a surface property. Whereas the ionization energy is the energy required to remove the electron from an atom or molecule in a gaseous state. So if we look at a metal, for example, such as a lithium bar, the work function is less than the ionization energy, because the electrons are free to move around in a metal, so they're less tightly bound to the atoms, and therefore it takes more energy to remove the electron from an atom compared to the surface of a metal. So specifically, the maximum kinetic energy is equal to Planck's constant by the frequency of light, which is the energy of the photon, minus the material's work function. So again, increasing the intensity of light means bombarding the surface of the material with more photons, results in more photoelectrons being liberated, but the maximum kinetic energy does not change. And that's given that the frequency of light or energy of the photon does not change. So a higher light intensity does not change the maximum kinetic energy of an ejected electron. So in other words, if the energy of the photon is less than a material's work function, then increasing the number of photons does nothing, as the photons don't carry enough energy to eject the electrons. So that's consistent with this relationship, because the kinetic energy must be positive. So therefore the threshold frequency is equal to the material's work function on Planck's constant. Because the maximum kinetic energy of the photoelectron can only take on positive values, so there must be some threshold frequency for which the kinetic energy of the electron is 0. Noting that the frequency of the incident light must be larger than or equal to the threshold frequency for the electron to be ejected from the material. In a typical experiment, to demonstrate the photoelectric effect and determine the work function of a metal, two metal plates are placed in a vacuum chamber, so for example, an evacuated glass tube, so the ejected photoelectrons don't interact with air molecules, which would reduce their kinetic energy, and these two plates are connected to a variable source of potential difference. So this power source allows us to adjust the voltage and therefore the potential difference between the plates. Now one of the plates, being the cathode, is illuminated by monochromatic light. And this causes electrons to be ejected from the plate at different velocities, and the photoelectrons are collected on the other plate, being the anode, and this causes current to be recorded by this ammeter. Now if the potential difference between these two plates is adjusted, so the potential difference would create an electric field between these plates. So noting the Coulomb force on the electrons is equal to the charge of the electron, which is negative, by the electric field. So this force would act to pull the electrons to the left, and therefore adjusting the potential difference between the plates until no current is measured in the circuit. So at this point the voltage is called the stopping voltage. And therefore the electric potential energy under this condition is the charge by the voltage, and that's equal to the maximum kinetic energy of the electrons. So note that the voltage is adjusted slowly until the electrons with the highest kinetic energy no longer reach this plate. And recall the relationship for the maximum kinetic energy, which is Planck's constant by the frequency of incident light minus the work function. So what we have is a linear relationship between K max and the frequency of light. So suppose these are two different metals. We have a threshold frequency for each metal. So the electrons are ejected from the material if the frequency of the incident light is larger than or equal to the threshold frequency. So for two different metals, for example, we have the same slope of the linear relationship, which is equal to Planck's constant. So if we extend these lines to touch the y-axis, we can determine the work function for each of those different metals by reading the y-intercept. So noting there's no kinetic energy below the threshold frequency. So that's why we draw these as dotted lines below the horizontal axis. Given the work function for zinc is 4.31 electron volts, and we're given Planck's constant and the conversion of 1 electron volt to joules, find the threshold frequency for emitting photoelectrons from zinc. So recall the threshold frequency is the work function on Planck's constant. So we have 4.31 electron volts, which we can convert to joules by multiplying it by 1.602 by 10 to the minus 19 joules per electron volt, and that's divided by Planck's constant, which is 6.626 by 10 to the minus 34 joule seconds. So the electron volts cancel and our joules cancel, and we get a threshold frequency in 1 on second, or hertz. So that gives 1.042 by 10 to the 15 hertz. Now in part B, if light with a frequency of 5 by 10 to the 15 hertz is used to illuminate a piece of zinc, find the maximum kinetic energy and the speed of the ejected photoelectrons. So we have the maximum kinetic energy is equal to Planck's constant by the frequency of light minus the work function. So we have 6.626 by 10 to the minus 34 joule seconds multiplied by the frequency of light, which is 5 by 10 to the 15 hertz, or seconds to the minus 1. And what we'll do is convert this into electron volts. So recall 1 electron volt was 1.602 by 10 to the minus 19 joules. So we multiply this by 1 electron volt and divide by 1.602 by 10 to the minus 19 joules. So the joules cancel and the seconds cancel, and we end up with electron volts. And we subtract the work function, which was given in a problem, in electron volts. So what we get is K max is equal to 20.7 electron volts. And we're also asked for the speed of the ejected photoelectron given the mass of an electron. So let's get rid of this. So we have the maximum kinetic energy, and we'll use 3 decimal places. So that's in electron volts. And we'll convert this to joules. So we have 1.602 by 10 to the minus 19 joules per electron volt. And that's equal to 1/2 by the mass of the electron, which is given in kilograms. So that would be 9.109 by 10 to the minus 31 kilos by the maximum speed of the photoelectrons squared. So if you solve this for the speed, we'd get V max as 2.2 by 10 to the 6 meters per second. And in part C, if the light intensity was increased by a factor of 4, determine Kmax. Well, as we can see, the maximum kinetic energy depends on the frequency of light and not the intensity. So therefore Kmax will be the same as the maximum kinetic energy we obtained in part B.